So AI is going to replace all of our jobs. The AI Armageddon is here. And by the way, we're talking about the workplace. There's a whole nother AI Armageddon. That's another video. But here we're talking about the job replacement, displacement, the disruption. It's all here. And it's only going to accelerate. And so we should talk about it. Now, I know there's another school of thought that says the advancement in AI is going to lead to creating new industries, new skill demands. It's going to increase the efficiency and the productivity of those that are already good at something if they learn to use it. And, there's a lot of truth to that, but that's another video that we can break down and further parse. But for now, there is an inexorable truth, and that is jobs are being replaced. And there is an Armageddon of sorts materializing in real time right in front of us. So let's start with a question that's going to sound a lot harsher than it actually is. And I promise there's a gentler answer on the other side of that if you stick with me. But first, put down your shield, put down your armor, and brace yourself for the question. And that question is, why do we plea to remain part of the very system that exploits us? That's a tough question, but keep your shield down, be still, and listen to where this is going. Labor unions are not formed because laborers are thriving. When successful, labor unions win a gentler form of violence. Boy, these are some tough statements, and I can feel the shields rising, but lower them, remain still, and listen to where this is going. And by the way, if it weren't for labor unions, we wouldn't have the 5-day work week. We'd all be working 7 days a week. So as promised, there's a gentler side of this if you just stick with me. But I'm intentionally setting up this discussion with some useful agitation to prime a deeper, more sophisticated examination of our current condition and expand our consciousness so that we might imagine something different. And not just to adapt to what is happening, but evolve entirely. And if you can be still long enough, your evolution awaits. With the incipient disruption that AI introduces, we must first understand what that system is and how do we evolve from it. And that system is exploitive capitalism. Now, for those of you that are already critical of capitalism, that may sound a bit redundant, but there's levels to this. And there's capitalism that exploits as a matter of happenstance. And then there's other capitalism where the exploitation is quite intentional. But in any event, it operates on two pillars. Not labor and consumption, but production and consumption. And there's an important distinction there. On one side of that, the means of production no longer requires the addition of your labor. The means of production, which is the systems, the machines, the infrastructure, all of that remains undisturbed. If anything, it only increases in the absence of your labor. The other pillar is consumption, and it still relies fully on your participation. So, plainly speaking, a simple framing of this. On the production side, we now remove 100% of your labor. On the consumer side, we maintain 100% of your consumption. Take none of your labor and all of your consumption. So for today and the foreseeable future, that is the equation. So what do we do? That's the question, right? Well, before you think I'm going to suggest, just stop consuming, I have a response to this that I think you haven't heard yet. So AI is taking all of our jobs. And if I had to characterize the state of AI in work today, and today it's January 2026, I would say there's a few things happening. I'd say one, we are becoming conductors and orchestrators of AI agents. On the other hand, some are certainly using AI to increase their knowledge, their skills, the efficiency, the quality of their work delivery. And the third point is the simple truth that AI is just replacing jobs, simple and plain. All of that is true. All of that is happening. So we're fighting to keep our jobs. And I've been so rude as to explain that as us pleading to remain part of a system that continues to exploit us. But that framing has utility. It's a jolt. It's meant to stimulate and spark a deeper conversation, a more sophisticated examination of our current condition. Now, of course, I understand what that fight is about. When people can't get paid their full worth and value, getting paid something nonetheless can make all the difference between whether you and your family make it to the next day or not. It's survival. People need shelter. People need groceries. People need medication. And it's not so much loyalty to the system than it is just survival for so many. And nobody is wrong for trying to survive in a system that makes survival so hard. Here's where we have to dig much deeper into examining our current condition. And what I want people to understand is that we aren't just giving corporations our labor in exchange for a paycheck. We've given them so much more. Our insurance is tied to our job. Our retirement and security is tied to our job. In many cases, our sense of worth and identity is tied to our job. We've handed all of that over to our employers, and should we have ever done that in the first place? We have entrusted them with our literal lives, and now they're replacing you without even blinking. The real betrayal isn't that AI is taking our jobs. The betrayal happened when we let corporations be the gatekeepers of our survival. AI just exposed how fragile that deal always was. This is a reckoning, I hope. And when you pause long enough to accept that reality, you'll position yourself to consider something different in response. And I have a response I think you really ought to consider. As the AI Armageddon in the workplace blankets the earth, retreat into community. Let's start with some instruction from MLK, and then we'll talk about the mechanics of how this works on the other side. But Dr. King said, we should all seek to make a career out of doing good. Let's take a look at the full quote. Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a better person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in. What a wonderful instruction. And making a career out of doing good doesn't have to be centered on equal rights necessarily, but doing something good in the world, making it a better place. And when you go and seek that out, we certainly aren't talking about finding an employer with a well-crafted CSR mission statement. What we mean, do work that heals, do work that builds, do work that doesn't just chase profit, but protects people. And work that doesn't simply focus on sustainability, but work that recognizes the injury that is already there and seeks to heal it, seeks to repair it. And now we're focused on not sustainable approaches, but regenerative solutions. All within a community system, not a corporate favored system. We can build something different. When we pivot away from entrusting businesses with our labor, our insurance, our retirement, our security, our identity, and we pivot into community, we wind up building up not corporations, but building up something else entirely. And there are real-world models for this. Mutual aid, housing co-ops, community-owned internet and solar grids, food sovereignty and community gardens. Helping a community garden where time spent earns credit towards fresh produce. Time banks and skill shares that aren't based on currency, but simply trading one skill for another. Help teach someone a language in exchange for some home repair. So you have service exchanges that are much more of a parallel currency rather than a fiat currency or monetary system. And skill shares that measure your value in a much more human-centric way. Imagine living in a world like that. Doesn't that sound much more human? You see, you're not powerless. You've just been taught that there's no other alternative than surrendering your life to a company that may or may not be there tomorrow or may or may not need you tomorrow, rather than community that is permanent and surrounds you with your needs. So we're getting up and we're heading to those 9 to 5s, and 9 if you're lucky, right? Most of us are at work 8, 7, 6. If you're in the hospitality or service industry, those hotel goers are knocking on that restaurant door at 6 o'clock. They want their coffee and their continental breakfast pronto, right? And you're probably getting there somewhere around 5, maybe 4:30, prepping and preparing for all of that. And this is life. This is life for most people, right? Most of us don't have the luxury of getting to work at 9 o'clock. You know, a lot of us are on that road, on those buses, in that transit system long before the sun arises, right? And the sun's busy. The sun's got a lot of work to do, and we're getting busy before it. And when we're living this way constantly, there's something pretty violent happening in the body. You know, your body is a human, not an owl, not a moth, not a shark. A human is wired to function with a circadian rhythm. That is to take your body from a sleep state to an awakened state in harmony with the rise of the sun. It's an awakening. It is a spiritual thing. And before you dismiss it as some hippy-dippy stuff, there's biology behind this. And so here's how this works if you haven't heard of circadian rhythm. When the sun rises, it takes us from night to day. And it's not a light switch, it's a gradual process. And how this works for you as a human is that when small amounts of light enter deep areas of the retina, there are these specialized pigmented cells that take that cue and send a signal to your brain to start suppressing melatonin production, while at the same time gradually increasing the amount of cortisol production. And so simultaneously, you're having a gradual suppression of melatonin and a gradual increase of cortisol. And that managed transition results in your body getting to experience an awakening, right? An awakening, a reawakening every day, as opposed to your body being woken up. A lot of us have alarms on our phones, and when that alarm goes off, that is us being woken up. That is not experiencing an awakening. And when you're woke up like that, there's a surge of cortisol. I would say an unsafe surge of cortisol that happens in the body. That managed transition is being denied you. And the reason I say that's a pretty violent thing for your body to experience day in, day out, is because of the role that sleep actually plays in your overall well-being and health. On a superficial level, we just think we're getting denied rest. But your circadian rhythm regulates almost every bodily function that you have, and your body is doing some of its most important work in its sleep state. It's performing cellular repair because cellular damage is happening all throughout the body all the time. It's consolidating and carefully filing away memories for the day, and this has profound impacts for our learning and knowledge retention. It's regulating our hormones, which have a profound impact on how we function and feel. And it's doing all of this while you are in a sleep state, importantly. Not when you're out in the world absorbing all the stimuli, engaging with people, talking, writing, running, jogging, thinking, stressing, and all of the energy that it takes your body to exist, to live out in the world and function in that way, now gets shut down. Because in a sleep state, your body's going to need all of those resources to be focused on doing this critical work. So you're getting rest, but what your body is actually doing is restoring, and you're being denied that. Not just on one day of the week or a couple of days out of the week. This is your way of life now. This is what your employer demands of you. And we're out of tune. We're out of tune with nature. We're out of tune with our nature. We're out of tune with our biology. And it has devastating consequences that we've now just accepted as normal. And we have to see it as violence. We have to understand it that way. And in order to get there, what you have to recognize is that it's not simply rest that's being denied you. You're being denied an ability to regularly heal, restore, rebuild, rejuvenate, and allow you and your body to do the most miraculous thing that it possibly can do, and that is to repair you day in and day out. And to be clear, this is not suggesting that getting up early doesn't have its place for those that have the luxury of getting up and designing their mornings that way. But for most of us, it's the difference between being woken up and experiencing an awakening. And far too many of us are being woken up by these alarm clocks on our phones, getting pushed out the door to be part of a labor force. There's a difference in getting up early, designing your day, maybe going for a brisk walk, coming back, sitting down and having some fruit. There's a different burden on your body as opposed to not being an early riser, but abruptly getting up so you can race out the door to get to your job. And in many cases, not even getting your breakfast, maybe, grabbing something to drink on the way out the door, getting to work and having your breakfast there. I mean, there's a different type of burden that you're taking on. Many of us are thinking about work and what we have to do and already taxing the mind and the spirit from the moment we get up until we walk into the workplace. So there is a real difference by comparison. And don't let anybody bully you into thinking that waking up with the sun is being lazy. Waking up with the sun and allowing your body to transition allows for greater sustained energy throughout the day. You can be more productive with the proper restoration and rejuvenation that you give yourself every day. It is unnatural, it is harmful, and you are constantly doing this to your body, constantly denying the natural mechanics, the natural biology, the natural spiritual transition from sleep to wake. And you're being demanded this. I think now until you're 67, it'll be 70, it'll be 75. Keep living longer, and your reward is that you get to work longer. This is violence. It is deep violence. And we don't see it that way because we've normalized it. This is how it's been. Corporations have always dominated and taken control of every aspect of our lives. And it's time for you to take control back. Your value, the value that is your labor, the appreciation of that, your well-being, your identity, your purpose, your security, your survivability, the support structure that is all around you is not the company that you work for. It never should have been that. It is your community. So retreat back into that. We spend more time in a given week of our life to a company. And cumulatively, when you add all of this up, it's not 40 hours. Most of us work 50 on the clock, but you can easily add another 15 or 20 of that by the time you count in all the commute, by the time you count in the time that you had to spend getting up and getting dressed and getting ready. 60 hours, 80 hours. That is a significant amount of time. And by the time you get home, it's 7, it's 8 o'clock. You are doing nothing but grabbing something to eat and getting to bed and getting ready for the next day. Imagine throwing children into the mix. It's an impossible situation that we've made possible, and only made possible out of survival. But make no mistake about it, this is not healthy. This is not natural. No one deserves that percentage of your life. If you think in terms of ratios, I mean, the weekends are a short-lived thrill in my Damian Marley voice. By the time Sunday comes, you're getting ready for Monday, most of us. Friday, we're exhausted from the week. Saturday is a fleeting moment of rest, a day that you actually can live and do what you want and experience this world and be free. And then it's back to the mill. And for those of you that have thrived in this system in spite of all of its challenges, this message is not for you. What I hope you realize is that you're an exception. And I hope what you want for your fellow man is something much better. This isn't about being responsible. This isn't about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. This isn't about determination and leaning in and just work a little harder and focus and be more disciplined and just learn a little bit of this. And it's about none of that. Surviving in the system, thriving in the system is extremely difficult. It's not incentivized to make it easy for you. The system is hard to survive, never mind thrive, and it's no accident that people are struggling within it. And that ratio of time that you give to a company it's absurd. It's 90%, 95% of your living time is overwhelmingly occupied by the job you hold. You are not living. We are not living. We're working, but that is something different. Surviving is not living. You know, the other benefit of pivoting into community is that you get grounded. You get sort of rooted in an ecosystem. And there's a cross-pollination of sorts between you and other living components that ultimately benefit you. In a community ecosystem, especially those where there is some shared injury, there's a corralling effect where you're also going to get exposed to social movements or movements rooted in justice or liberation. And it's good to discover what those are and get involved in those too. And what happens is all of the work that you're doing and all of the ways that you're living is integrated, right? It's integrated, and it's all integrated to the advancement of you and the community collectively. And think about living in a holistic way like that, where you have a way of making a living, you can live with purpose, you can live with passion, and you can center justice and all of that. And as opposed to spending 90% of your waking hours with a corporation that may or may not care about you at all. So, something for you to think about, and don't introduce your own barriers by thinking this is impractical or irrational. A lot of people live this way. And by the way, I wouldn't recommend anything to you that I don't do myself. And you just need to get still long enough to get your bearings, get oriented, get a good view of the landscape around you so that you can start making your trek towards pouring into community that's ultimately going to pour back into you in a way that corporations never can and never will. You deserve to pause and think about that intentionally. In fact, that's my challenge for you. When you go to bed tonight, I want you to lay there and I want you to start envisioning what a life like that will look like for you. Fantasize about it. And the second night, you get to start thinking about designing it. So I know what I want, and now how do I put it together? And the answers may not be obvious, but start thinking about the design. Like, what if this were possible? What are the moving pieces? What are the mechanics of it? And how would this actually work for me? Start thinking of it. Start thinking about it. And the wonderful thing about thought and meditation is that it goes out into the world and takes on life and flesh. But you have to think about it first. And most of us either don't have the time to reimagine what our own existence could look like. And many of us have just been lied to, and that there's no other way of existing than within the current dominant system that undervalues us or can't value us or otherwise outright exploits us. And it's not true. It's just not true. But it takes some imagination. It does. And you owe it to yourself to start thinking about what that looks like for you. Imagine if we redirected our energy not into fighting to be part of a system that isn't fighting for us, but we put just as much energy into building something else, building something that is of us, for us, and by us. Now, this doesn't mean that everyone can drop everything and walk away from the system tomorrow. People still need money, and that's a real thing. But begin thinking of a hybrid transition. We're talking about purpose-aligned employment, side practices rooted in mutual support, community trust funds and cooperatives. The crucial point here is that you can still earn, but you get to choose why, how, and for whom. So here's my final provocation. In AI, the AI workplace Armageddon, AI has replaced your job, it's replaced all of our jobs. But they still need your spending. You see, the two pillars still remain. They found a way to produce without you, but they still need your consumption. Without that second pillar, the structure cracks and ultimately collapses. That's your power, not just in how you work, but how you live. So my final call to action for you is don't beg to be exploited. I know that's a tough line. I know it. And I know that's not what many of you are actually doing. And by all means, do what you must. Do what you must to survive and make it to the next day. And I know we're all busy, but find the time to get still. Find the time as if your life depended on it, because it does. To create enough space for you to start thinking about, visualizing, fantasizing about what pivoting into community would look like for you. Living in community intentionally. A career based in serving community intentionally, and start building what you were always meant to have: your sovereignty, your purpose, and community. Something no machine can ever replace. Your evolution awaits, and your community awaits. And that's it. Respect.